If there is one object in ancient mythology that repeatedly appears in stories involving rebellion, cosmic authority, and the collapse of divine order, it is not a weapon or a monster. It is a tablet, a small physical artifact that, according to Mesopotamian texts, determined who had the right to rule the universe. And if you stay until the end of this video, you will understand why this object has been interpreted by historians, linguists, and archaeologists as one of the most unsettling concepts in the ancient world. The more you examine the Tablets of Destinies, the stranger the story becomes, and the more you begin to see how ancient people viewed power, knowledge, and the structure of reality itself. Before we begin, if you appreciate videos that break down ancient mysteries without exaggeration, but also without ignoring the uncomfortable gaps in our historical knowledge, consider subscribing. It is free and it genuinely helps this project continue. We are working hard to build a community that understands mythology without falling into misinformation. Subscribing means you support videos like this and you will not miss the connections between each civilization we explore. Also, leave a like if you find this helpful. It tells the platform that this content matters. The story of the Tablets of Destinies begins in Sumer, the earliest known civilization. In Mesopotamian belief, power was never purely based on strength or ancestry. It was not something a god or king simply possessed because of birth. Power had to be legitimate. It had to be recognized by the universe. This legitimacy was not abstract, and it was not symbolic. It was contained in a physical object described as the Tablets of Destinies. These tablets appeared in Sumerian, Akkadian, Assyrian, and Babylonian texts. They spanned centuries of mythology, yet their description remained strangely consistent. They were written tablets worn on the chest, covered in divine formulas that defined the laws of existence. Whoever held them did not just command others. They commanded the very fabric of reality. According to the ancient stories, the theft of the Tablets of Destinies disrupted the natural order. Not figuratively, literally. The structures of the world were said to collapse when someone stole the tablets. Ancient scribes wrote that the tablets defined the order of heaven and earth. They held the power to fix roles, determine kingship, establish cosmic laws, and even control fate. This raises immediate questions that scholars still debate. Were these tablets meant to be understood as literal objects? Were they based on ritual items used in temples? Or were they symbolic explanations for why certain kingdoms rose and fell? Archaeology cannot completely answer this, but the myths provide clues. The earliest stories state that the Tablets of Destinies belonged to Enlil, a major Sumerian deity associated with kingship, wind, storms, and authority. Enlil ruled the earthly world. The tablets were the source of his cosmic right to govern. But the myths do not describe a stable divine system. Instead, they reveal repeated theft, betrayal, and disruption. The tablets, despite their immense power, were vulnerable. They were stolen more than once, and each time the consequences were catastrophic. One of the most important myths involving the tablets is the story of Enlil, a creature described as a giant bird with the head of a lion. Enlil served Enlil, but at some point he stole the Tablets of Destinies and fled into the mountains. When this happened, the other gods panicked. Enlil lost the foundation of his authority. His commands no longer carried weight. Natural forces stopped behaving as expected. The divine assembly fell into confusion. That level of chaos reflects how closely the ancient Mesopotamians tied cosmic order to legitimacy. What stands out is the reaction of the gods. They did not chase Enlil immediately. They hesitated. They refused. They were terrified because the thief now had control of legitimacy itself. This reaction reflects real patterns in ancient society. If a ruler lost the symbols of his authority, he was finished. Temples were not just places of worship. They held tablets that defined contracts, rituals, and laws. Losing an important tablet could destabilize an entire kingdom. Eventually, the gods convinced Ninurta, a warrior deity and the son of Enlil, to confront Enlil. After a difficult battle, Ninurta retrieved the tablets and restored order. This story reassured ancient audiences that even when the foundations of reality were threatened, order could be recovered. But even after the victory, the story did not suggest everything was suddenly safe. The tablets remained vulnerable. Chaos could return. Another major account involving the tablets appears in the Babylonian creation epic known as the Enuma Elish. In this story, the primordial goddess Tiamat, mother of creation, begins a war against the younger gods. She selects Kingu, a deity with no independent authority, to lead her army. Kingu receives the Tablets of Destinies from Tiamat and becomes the commander of the rebel gods. The reason this is significant is because Kingu did not earn legitimacy. He was given it. The tablets made him powerful instantly, even though he had no authority of his own. Eventually, the gods chose a champion named Marduk to confront Tiamat. Marduk defeated her and then stripped Kingu of the Tablets of Destinies. With the tablets in his possession, Marduk became the supreme ruler of the cosmos. Babylon later used this story for political purposes. If Marduk held the tablets and the king of Babylon served Marduk, then Babylon ruled by cosmic right. These myths reveal that legitimacy was transferable in the ancient worldview. Whoever held the tablets had authority. This mirrors real political situations in Mesopotamia, where conquering rulers seized sacred objects to claim divine favor. Stepping back from the myths, we can ask a deeper question. Why does this concept keep appearing? Why do so many stories describe the tablets in similar ways? Why are they constantly stolen, lost, or contested? And why did ancient scribes treat them as literal objects rather than simple metaphors? One possibility is that the Tablets of Destinies reflect real ritual objects in Mesopotamian temples. Temples stored clay tablets that recorded rituals, laws, astronomical observations, and prophecies. Some tablets were guarded with extreme care because they determined the fate of kings and cities. Another possibility is that the tablets represent a cosmic constitution, an early attempt to explain why certain gods or kings had authority while others did not. This would mean the tablets were conceptual rather than physical, but the myths materialized them into concrete objects for storytelling purposes. Then there is the third option, which creates tension but remains completely factual. The stories are too consistent across time. They describe the tablets as physical objects worn on the chest, inscribed with divine formulas, granting authority, determining fate, vulnerable to theft, and feared by the gods. This level of consistency suggests the idea originated from something important, something that ancient people may have believed existed in the real world. Some scholars argue that the tablets could represent lost knowledge, not necessarily supernatural, but vital information stored on early clay tablets. Items such as astronomical records and ritual instructions were critical to society. If these records were lost or stolen, the social and religious order could collapse. It is worth noting that in the ancient world, archives were everything. They contained records of births, deaths, taxes, rituals, omens, and state decisions. If a city lost its archives in war, it lost its identity. Many cities never recovered after their archives were destroyed. The mythic fear of losing the Tablets of Destinies may reflect the very real trauma of losing the documents that structured civilization. The psychological dimension is also interesting. Ancient Mesopotamian society was unstable. Cities rose and fell. Kings overthrew kings. Empires collapsed. In this atmosphere, legitimacy had to be constantly renewed. The myths show that even gods could lose authority. The stories emphasize that cosmic order was fragile. This fragility reflects the political reality of the ancient world. It is also important to understand what the tablets actually contained, according to the texts. They were inscribed with the Mi, a Sumerian concept referring to divine decrees that define civilization. These decrees included social roles, crafts, wisdom, emotions, rituals, war, peace, law, and more. In modern terms, The me was like the operating system of the universe. The Tablets of Destinies were the master files that managed this system. Priests in Mesopotamia were the closest thing the ancient world had to scientists. They recorded astronomical cycles with impressive accuracy. They tracked planetary movements, star paths, and calendar systems. They recorded medical observations, economic transactions, and rituals. Their knowledge was preserved on clay tablets. The mythological Tablets of Destinies may reflect this ancient respect for written knowledge. There is also a troubling question raised by some modern scholars. Why did ancient people describe the tablets as determining fate? What did they know or believe that made them think reality could be controlled by information? Some scholars see a connection between the tablets and early attempts to record cosmic patterns. Star cycles determined agricultural success. Calendar failures could lead to famine. In this sense, the tablets determined life or death. Ancient astronomy tablets such as the mul.appin recorded detailed information about constellations and seasonal changes. These tablets were essential for planning rituals and agriculture. To the people of that era, this information shaped destiny. The mythic Tablets of Destinies may be a reflection of this scientific foundation. The consistency between myths and real ancient practices is compelling. Even without adding any fictional elements, the connection remains suggestive. Another point that fascinates scholars is the vulnerability of the tablets. If they were so important, why were they constantly stolen in the myths? Why did the gods struggle to protect them? This narrative reflects a deep truth. Ancient people understood that knowledge could be lost. They experienced it. Libraries burned. Empires fell. Priests were killed. Archives disappeared forever. Power could be stolen. Legitimacy could be questioned. Order could collapse. The myths may be symbolic reflections of these historic realities. Something else stands out. In every myth, the Tablets of Destinies are recovered. Order is restored. The universe resets. This pattern suggests ancient people believed that even when chaos struck, stability was possible. They lived in a world where disasters were common, but myths offered hope. There is another aspect of the tablets that creates genuine mystery. Historians note that the concept of the Tablets of Destinies is older than many of the myths that reference them. This means the idea existed before the stories. It likely originated in forgotten Sumerian traditions. The fact that the idea survived for so long suggests it represented something important, but we do not know exactly what. Asking what the Tablets of Destinies really were is not a conspiratorial question. It is an honest historical question. Why did ancient people describe an object with such precision? Why did they associate it with legitimacy, fate, and cosmic order? What inspired this idea? Modern archaeology has made progress, but many answers remain unknown. We know clay tablets were the backbone of Mesopotamian society. We know they contained vital knowledge. We know their loss could destroy a city. We know myths reflected these fears. But the mythic Tablets of Destinies seem to be something more than that. They seem to represent a deeper truth about ancient beliefs. Did they reflect an early attempt to understand cosmic order? Did they symbolize the laws of nature? Did they represent lost knowledge? Did they reflect real ritual objects? These questions remain open. Scholars debate them based on real sources. What is certain is that the myths were not random fantasies. They were structured stories connected to real concerns. The ancient world was unpredictable. The idea that fate could be stolen or mismanaged was terrifying. The Tablets of Destinies expressed this fear in narrative form. As we reach the end of this story, consider something important. The ancient myths repeatedly describe information as a force. Not a symbol. A force. Something that could shape the universe and determine the fate of gods and humans. This mindset appears again in later cultures. It is one of the earliest recorded expressions of a concept humans still struggle with today. Information is power. Knowledge shapes destiny. And the loss of knowledge can collapse civilizations. If you enjoyed this grounded analysis of ancient mythology, consider subscribing to the channel. It helps us keep producing higher quality videos and reaching new viewers who want clarity rather than confusion. If you know someone who loves archaeology or ancient stories, share this video with them. It truly helps. Thank you for watching and see you in the next episode.